Good morning. You are listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city at WFOY 1240 AM studios. Through the power of the internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1240news.com. The show will also be archived on rawauctions.com as they are the sponsor of this program. Additionally, this show will be posted on youtube.com. We're going to be talking about real estate auctions, real estate markets. Exciting show today. We've got Washington, D.C. calling in, and I want to thank you very much. Number one, radio show mission statement: to provide educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. We've been doing this show for, I think we're up to 18 months now, and we've had legislators, congressmen on this show. We've got four actually congressmen that have been on this radio show. We've had government officials on this show, power brokers throughout the country, probably getting national and statewide coverage in regards to real estate markets and auctions for probably 20 or 30 different states. So we've been very excited to have this show, and again, this program is to provide an education experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. We've got an election that took place, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and if that's going to be a change in any facet to what's happening in the real estate markets and the auction possibilities for the upcoming 4 years. We're also going to be talking about brokers, how they are involved with real estate auctions, how they make money through real estate auctions. Been talking to the Florida Realtor magazine. I believe there's an article coming up in January that's going to focus on how real estate brokers and real estate agents can make money through auctions. I was thrilled to be interviewed for that particular article and look forward to seeing that coming out again in January for the Florida Realtor magazine. As in the past, we've been talking about 14,000 government surplus properties. These properties are not residential homes. They are not residential condos. They don't have anything to do with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. These are government surplus properties that the government holds, and the government, 14,000, believe it or not, isn't that much because they are the landlord to almost 1 million properties across the country, whether they lease those properties, maintain those properties, they own those properties. They are the biggest landlord in the country, and so 14,000 isn't that crazy of a number compared to almost 1 million properties. I've also had the GSA, General Service Administration, on the show. They've also talked to me about the fact that one property might actually, in the accounting system for the GAO, be 6 properties, because it could be a fence, could be 2 buildings, 3 buildings, whatever. All right, let's go to the lines. Good morning. You're on the air.
Oh, hi. How are you, Dennis?
Well, Pete, thank you so much. Pete, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Doug, thanks. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. I'm Pete Marcin. I head the Federal Practice Group for Cushman and Wakefield based in Washington, D.C. It's a national practice group. We focus mainly on landlord leasing and leasing space for the federal government, to put it as simply as possible. I spent a number of years at GSA as their broker, and about 6 years ago, switched over to the landlord side with Cushman and Wakefield to start up the group, and we've been going strong ever since.
Well, that's excellent. Tell me more about what you do with the GSA and leasing. And of course, we've been talking about the 14,000 properties. You and I have discussed that. And I have never met you. We've tried to get together a couple of times when I've been in Washington, but I think I screwed up one time, and then you got sick one time. So we will get together, I promise. But,
yeah, absolutely.
But tell me exactly what you do.
Well, what we basically focus on is mostly office and warehouse. The executive level needs that the government has. They've got, I'd say, in the nationally 50 million square feet of lease space that they need to deal with on an annual basis, and we work with existing landlords to kind of navigate the procurement process, to track congressionally track what some of these deals that are out there, and follow the issues and meet with the right people, get put properties in the best light for the government from compliance and perception issues. It's kind of it's become a mix of brokerage and I don't want to say lobbying, but getting the right word in front of the right people.
Sure.
Right.
And you've been up there for how long again, Pete?
Well, 6 years. 6 years on the landlord side with Cushman and Wakefield. Before that, I was. That's when I was at GSA doing brokerage work on their side.
Okay. And so you help maintain the government properties. Do you sometimes, when the government says, we don't really need this building, do you find a buyer for them, or do you? And second would be, if they needed a property, do you go find those properties for them?
Well, it's there hasn't been as much action on the sales side as we'd all like to see. I mean, I know the initiatives are out there, and the effort on behalf of the government is, or at least the intention is out there for the government.
Yep.
But most of the action that we've seen has been just in the simple leasing front.
Okay.
Where through 5, 10, 15-year deals, a lot of prospectus level congressional deals that are done. But yeah, I mean, we certainly find properties for owners that are either GSA leased or GSA owned. There's more activity on the GSA lease side for purchasers. At least there has been over the past few years, and that's really become an area of focus. It's increased a lot in the last 5 years. Folks wanting to buy just for credit reasons.
Sure.
Of having a government tenant.
Sure.
So it's a good asset class to have. The opportunities, the fact that that it's become such an attractive market on that front, it means there's more opportunities, but there's also more competition out there. So owners or potential owners are having to be a lot more discriminating about what they do buy, and having to track what's going on with these agencies, with their budgets, with programs that may be in these buildings, whether they're going to be needed or whether they're targeted to be slashed, and it's become difficult on many fronts for everybody in my business over the past 2 years to handicap a lot of these things just because of all the uncertainty that's been out there. So we're glad to have the election behind us, put it that way.
Well, and you and I kind of thought about, depending on what the election would do, if that would change anything, and I'm not sure it really does. What's your take? If Romney had become president, I think we probably would be able to talk a lot more about what would happen, but with President Obama in for 4 more years, do you see any kind of new trend or new action in regards to government properties?
Well, the big thing is there's no presidential election in front of us, so at least not for another 4 years.
Right.
So that part of the politicking hopefully will be taken out of the process. But, on the large scale, government disposition of property it's not a new initiative. It's been I've tracked it all the way back to 1960. They started and they've had little spurts of looking at disposing of government properties. But the the big kind of recent push started, I think, in 2003 with the GAOs. They issued a report that outlined excess and underutilized property as one of their high risk for fraud and abuse areas, and that was under a Republican president, and that process has kind of kept going since 2003, but it never had any traction until you got the legislative branch and the executive branch both on the same page there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's something that happened in the past 2 years. We've got the GAO's report that continued going through or continued outlining the excess and underutilized property and over reliance on costly leasing. That's maintained, but in 2004, President Bush, for example, he under Executive Order 13327, he added real property asset management to the president's management agenda, which it's been a focus, although not a front page focus. It crosses presidential lines. Really, it's not a party issue at this point.
Well, that's my thing, and I'm going to take a minute to tell you and our listeners how I got involved in this, and have been up to Washington 4 or 5 times in the last 12 months. Number one, government real estate auctions has been my forte for the last 20 years, 25 years. FDIC, GSA, Fannie Mae, United States Marshal Service, RTC probably was the biggest, sold about 8,000 properties for them by auction, SBA, all kinds of letters. But what happened was last year when President Obama did his State of the Union address, which was, I think, early February, maybe late January in 2011, I'm reading right from his speech. It says, and he's talking about, savings and everything, and he said, to take just one example, by getting rid of 14,000 office buildings, lots, and government-owned properties we no longer need, we can save taxpayers billions of dollars. And I apologize. Actually, that was the budget address in Maryland, which was about 2 or 3 weeks later after the State of the Union, when in the State of the Union he says we've got properties that we can sell and it would help the budget. And that was exciting to me. And then I saw something from Senator Brown from Massachusetts, who, from my understanding, lost the election. But he also said, hey, let's auction these 14,000 properties. It'll save up to $15 billion worth of cost to the American taxpayer. And I think that spurred things. And then Congressman Denham from California, who's very active, and you can shed more light on this because you're up there all the time.
Right.
But he pushed, and with Congressman Micah, he's been out there, and they actually got a bill passed in the House, House Bill 1734, which was an attempt to sell these properties and to get these costs off of the American taxpayer. And then last time I was up there, I met with Velvet Johnson, and she is with
Senate.
Right, the Senate side,
Right.
and because nothing had happened, and so I'm saying, man, I got to concentrate more on the Senate, and she is she's very optimistic that it will happen, and I guess this is because this is a win-win situation for everybody. Republicans, right. Democrats, Senate, House, the president, and specifically the American taxpayer. So I'm guessing that hopefully, just like you said, because the presidential election is over, maybe they can start to kind of mend ways a little bit, knowing, the Republicans knowing, we've got to work with everybody, and the president trying to pull them together.
Right.
What do you think, Pete? I mean, what's going to happen
I'd
here?
say it's been a little bit frustrating. Well, I mean, it's frustrating for the whole market.
Yep.
And watching the activity or lack thereof.
Yes.
There's been a lot of activity, but you have a number of competing bills that look very similar to the Civilian Property Realignment Act,
right?
That Denham proposed.
Mm-hmm.
You've got bills in the House, bills in the Senate. The president even has a proposal out there, and they're all fairly similar. So it seems from a getting things done perspective, just sitting down and figuring out what the similarities are between them and the differences, and how they're going to pass some sort of a version to get it done, because it deals with a number of things. I mean, there's it's not just disposing of property. It's that would be easy. Once a property is disposed, where does the money go? How does it get appropriated from then on out?
Yep.
In general, if somebody writes a check to the government, it goes to Fort Worth, and it kind of disappears into the mist. And a number of the versions had kind of a roadmap of how this money can get spent and can get appropriated, because that's one of the disincentivizations for GSA, is if somebody buys a federal government property, that money wouldn't necessarily go into the federal building fund. So from a GSA mission perspective, they don't have the incentive to sell the property, because it doesn't really help their own bottom line. Now, I know that's not the American way, and it's more of a corporate mentality. But I think that corporate mentality is what's going to get it done. At the end of the day, is you have to think about incentivizing everybody and making sure that people don't do something and dispose of a property that's potentially valuable, and then have really nothing to show for it within their own agency.
Yep. And again, the GSA has been taking some shots, so I would think that one of the things is to get everybody off their back by selling some of these properties, which everybody is saying that makes sense and everything. So I would think that they would be for. One of the things in my talks with GSA was that they have to go through many processes to determine if the property can be sold, and
right.
and wildlife and historic preservation and
right.
homeless.
McKinney Act.
Yes. I mean, it's a lot, and so I feel bad for them in that, but that long process costs the American taxpayer money, because we'll get into discussion a little bit later on what are the holding costs. Why does it cost so much? Why can we have a Washington post office annex up in D.C. that costs the American taxpayer $6 million a year and has been vacant for 10 years? I mean, how does that happen?
Right.
And how does that affect, John Doe, whether he's in Des Moines, Iowa, or Massachusetts, or Texas, because he has no clue that when he pays taxes, that's part of it that he's paying, because these holding costs. But one of the things I kind of liked in Senate Bill 2178, which is, again, talking with Velvet Johnson and Senator Carper, what they've done is they've said, okay, we're going to give a percentage to the homeless, because it doesn't make sense that in these buildings, I mean, they cost a lot to run, and so
right.
Going through saying, hey, homeless, do you need to have these properties, and I mean, just must take a whole bunch of time, and it really isn't effective, because they don't have the money to
Right.
You know, take them even if they were given to them free. You know, how do they you know, do something that's going to cost them $100,000 a month in maintenance and everything? So that was one of the things that I kind of liked in Carper's bill. But you know, your thoughts, is that something that maybe the Congress needs to say, hey, you don't have to do so much, or you need to do it quicker, because time is money with a vacant property?
They do, and I'd say the window is closing on them. You know, it's not imminent, but it's not going to be open forever. You know, yet that's been the traditional hamstringing of disposing of these properties is all those, you know, the hurdles that they have to jump through, and everybody, you know, every step takes some time, and you know, the reality of the situation is nobody has the money to bring these buildings up to snuff and spend the money up front that requires just to make these buildings habitable. And you know, from a budget perspective, that's not what companies do. I mean, economics is economics. So, you know, if you're dealing with budget shortfalls, if you're carrying a lot of debt, that's not the time to be purchasing and renovating and investing in your owned assets, because from a budget perspective, that is upfront year one money that has to be appropriated all at once. That's not going to happen. So from an economic perspective, what makes sense is to lease a lot of these buildings and to do the disposition hand in hand. So you know, I don't see them breaking the long living rules of economics. I see, you know, lease space increasing and the building sales increasing. It's to really, you know, right the ship. So if they can get bottom line is why offer it to agencies that you know aren't going to have the money to renovate it anyways?
Exactly.
And spend the time to do their analysis, or have it sit at somebody's desk for a while, and hey, if they've got 90 days to respond, why respond on day 3?
Exactly. And so all that, you know, 90 days just for one of those process, you know, that's 3 months. And
there's 2 ways you can deal with it. You can either leapfrog them, or you can shorten the time frame that they have to respond to these things. And, you know, you can't shorten it to 3 days, but you know, you can certainly tighten the time frame so that the government becomes more nimble, which is easier said than done.
Well, I agree. Listen, we're going to have to go for a break. Can you stay on? Because I want to talk about
Sure.
the holding cost. I want to talk more about Cushman Wakefield. As you know, you and I were brought together by Rosendo Cavero down in Miami, Florida, who I've worked with several times and sold about $50 million worth of properties through auction. So I want to touch on that a little bit. But if you can hold on, that would be great, Pete. And we'll go for a couple of minutes of sponsor important ads, and then we'll get back if that's okay.
My pleasure.
Okay. Hey, we are talking to Peter Marcin, Executive Director for the Federal Practice Group, Cushman and Wakefield, Washington, D.C. He's up there. He's in the know. We look forward to his comments right after these breaks. But good stuff, and I'm learning a lot, and hope you are too as a listener. And again, 14,000 properties, billions of dollars American taxpayers are paying each year. That's what's at stake, and we'll be right back in a minute. All right, we are back listening to the National Real Estate Auction Radio Show. I'm your host, Doug Dennison. We're broadcasting live from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida. This show will also be archived on RAWauctions.com. They are the sponsor, and YouTube.com. We are talking to Peter Marcin, Executive Director for the Federal Practice Group, Cushman and Wakefield in Washington, D.C. Again, Cushman Wakefield, one of the biggest, one of the largest, one of the best commercial real estate groups in the world. Tell us a little bit more about Cushman Wakefield, Peter.
Well, we've got. We are international. I focus mostly on. With the federal government, there's. We other than we have a State Department contract that we do some work overseas, but by and large inside the country, we've got a very strong property management group, and our appraisal group has had a lot of success with appraising GSA owned and leased properties. So we've really been making the government our focus on through multiple service lines ever since I've been there. It's been steadily increasing and getting a lot stronger, to where it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun working with the folks in Cushman that they've got. It's a strong team.
Well, they have a strong team, and one of your team members is Rosendo Cavero out of Miami. He and I have worked with the RTC, the FDIC, several auctions, and I wanted to bring that together, that as a team, powerful real estate groups like Cushman and Wakefield and the other groups have worked together with auction firms to sell great properties at great value and really be an asset to the government system and the government agencies. And I'm not sure if you've ever been involved in an auction. I've never met you before, but one of the reasons why governments like an auction is because it's fair and transparent, and
right.
it helps because, if, for instance, and we'll go back to the post office, if they said, Peter, your job is to sell the property and make it happen in 3 months. I mean, even the best plan that you would come up with, I'm going to say that you're going to end up with, here's one person that's going to give you $20 million but wants a year's worth of due diligence, and another person is going to give you $15 million, doesn't need any due diligence, but he needs financing. And then somebody else wants a smaller deposit rather than a bigger deposit. Somebody else needs more closing time. Somebody else wants the government to pay for the stuff that's wrong. It's apples and oranges, and it's very difficult for anybody, whether it's a broker that's in charge or it's a government official that's in charge, to have a sale and not be, getting darts later when someone says, hey, that must have been a backdoor deal, backroom deal, because I would have paid more. And then you have all these congressionals and everything is screwed up. So one of the ways that auctions do help, it's very transparent, and you get it out to the world. And Rosendo has been very helpful in that. So I want to give him kudos, and he speaks very highly of you and the Cushman and Wakefield team.
It's mutual. It's definitely mutual. It's interesting you make that point. When I was at GSA, that was what I considered my main job. Well, really twofold: is maximizing the government dollar from a leasing standpoint, but also making sure that the procurement is clean.
Yep.
And that's one of the advantages of federal procurement is you can set out all the rules up front. Everybody has to bid on the same thing. You get some tweaks and differences along the way or after the fact, because the world's a complex place.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, that really the auction process really eliminates a lot of that. The transparency, the people worrying about whether somebody knows more, has a relationship here. It really just comes down to price. And as long as the due diligence is done beforehand by both the seller and the buyer,
yep,
there shouldn't be any problems. So it is a good method. I'd say one of the things that I'd like to see the government do is kind of solidify their assets before they go to sale. they do have a lot of tools at their disposal to improve the marketability of the assets that they do own before they go out to market. Whether it's some, I don't want to say minimal, but something that can be budgetarily done physically to the building. There's zoning issues that can be ironed out on some of these buildings. There's buildings that are occupied by agencies. A lot of people don't realize it, but it's held by the GSA, and the agency pays GSA rent. And we've been involved in a lot of the appraisals of those types of properties. So, if you've got an agency that's paying rent in a federal government building, can you sell the building and basically do a novation for the buyer taking over as the landlord, which it would be GSA. And I think that that stability would improve the bottom line, because a federal building is a building. I mean, it's unless you've got a legacy building on Pennsylvania Avenue, like the post office,
right.
There's very little to differentiate one whether it's a federally owned building versus a privately developed and owned building, just from a physical standpoint. So if they could improve the contractual and physical aspects of the building to maximize that the value, I think that's somewhere where the private sector, where we do this on a corporate level all the time. And
right.
We've got a corporate disposition practice that's really all they do is they look at assets for disposition, they maximize the value, and do everything they can to get as much money out of it as possible. And that's something where I don't want to say the government hasn't been doing, because it is difficult on their side to do all of these and jump through all the legal caveats that are involved in doing these things. But they really have an opportunity to solidify these assets and make them more valuable than they otherwise would be.
Well, I agree with you in part. Number one, if you're selling your home, you're gonna get, you're gonna mow the lawn, you're going to fix the broken window, you're gonna fix that step in the back porch, you're gonna make it look the best it can for minimal cost to get the most interest for the parties. Now, what I'm worried about is that, an auction, it's as is where is.
Right.
And,
right.
And everybody knows that. And if you said, okay, we've got some environmental issues for this building, what do we do, and what can we do? And I'm just worried that we have the public sector, which is number one, which is us. It's the real estate brokers, the real estate auction firms. We know how to help that. But number two, there are some really educated buyers out there, and they know what to do. And so I guess I don't want to have a property that they've finally decided that they're going to sell, and then say, okay, wait a minute, we're going to spend a year and a half, spending $2 million on environmental issues, and then we'll sell it. Number one, you've lost 2 years of money. Number two, you're really speculating at that point that the $2 million worth of American taxpayer money is going to be advantageous in the sale. So I think it's a fine line there, because I don't like the speculation part. I think that there's enough really bright investors out there that do this for a living every day of the year, that they could see a property, see all the hair on it, see the problems, and then make a bid. Yes, is it going to be lower? But it's money now compared to 2 years down the road and $2 million worth American taxpayer trying to make it up to speed in a better selling area. Do we differ on that, or what do you think?
Well, there's two ways to look at it. One is maximizing the dollars on the government side. The second is if you shore up some of these unknown issues, it would transfer. That would lessen the likelihood that a sale that falls through.
Yep.
Because I mean, everybody knows just that things fall apart at various points through the process, and the more issues are out there, the more risk there is that people are going to overcompensate for those risks in their bids. And if the government can, it's not an across-the-board thing. What they need to do is strategically look this, that, and the other, and create a list. I mean, you don't take 14,000 properties, and do, that would take too long. But you have a hit list. And,
yep.
And you do an appraisal of what it would be worth now versus what it would be worth with physical improvements are difficult just because of the capital budgetary restraints.
Yep.
But all of the other tools in there that they have access to, it wouldn't cost a lot of money just to shore things up and create some certainty on the buy side. Because I mean, there could be very simple things that can be done that would be unknowns from a buyer's perspective and
yep.
would have to be compensated in their price, where it would be a fairly easy fix on the government side to eliminate that.
Okay. One of the things I do agree with, Pete, is you've got a building and that it's whatever use, it's not made for commercial use right now.
Right.
However, if you can get the public private sector to buy in, now you've got money coming in as a taxpayer. It helps the county, it helps the city, and so I think the government could help by going to that location and saying, "Hey, we're thinking of selling this, but it's too vague right now what it can be used for. Can we hammer out something? Can we change it to retail? Can we?" What would you like to do? And I think the local government would feel probably react quicker if the GSA, the federal government, came in and made those things. So now the private sector investor can say, okay, I don't have to fight, after I buy it to see what I can do with it.
Right.
Now I know
that's precisely the point there.
Okay.
If the government can bring some certainty through the zoning process,
yes.
for what can be done there. If they change it so there can be retail, that's tax dollars that go into the local coffers. So you're going to have their support there, and that's going to get you more money on the government side, and it's also going to make owners quicker and more aggressive.
Yes,
with that level of certainty. So that's a win-win for everybody.
I think so too. And that would be, I'd vote for, the government trying to do that and get that ball rolling.
Quickly, right?
Yeah. Hey, Pete, I really thank you. Tell us how people can get a hold of you, because, again, you are in the know up in Washington, D.C. How do people get a hold of you, and a website, whatever you'd like to give them?
Sure. Contact me anytime on email. It's peter.marcin, that's Marcin, at cushwake.com. And my direct line is 202-739-0388. And I'm happy to talk to anybody and discuss things further, because I think the next few years are going to be a lot of fun.
Well, it's an important topic, and I think that, the private sector has got to be involved. I don't think if you and I had a magic wand right now and all of a sudden these 14,000 properties go up for sale, I'd like to have the private sector very involved. I don't think we as a point need to hire more government people at this time, but on a contractual basis, there's good firms out there, both auction firms and real estate brokers like mine and yours, to help out here. So give us the website one more time, because again, Cushman & Wakefield is one of the finest groups, and I've been pleased to work with them many, many times.
Yep, it's well, our website's cushwake.com. That's just Cushwake, and you can navigate everything from there. And but once again, email and call. I'm always open to discuss.
Hey, Pete, thank you so much for taking the time. I'll be up there probably after the first of the year, and I look forward to this time getting together.
Yes, thanks, Doug. Me too.
All right. Take care, Pete.
And thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Bye-bye now.
Take care.
All right. Peter Marcin, Executive Director, Cushman Wakefield, the Federal Practice Group. He's located down in up in Washington, D.C., at 2001 K Street Northwest, Suite 700. His number is 202-739-0388. His email is peter.marcin@cushwake.com. A lot of insight. I could see his point on a few things, and again, I'm thrilled that I've been able to work with Cushman Wakefield before, and they do a fine job.